is being given, at the merchant outlets, that money can be restricted that the farmer, or it can be used at those specific outlets during this specific period, and then if it is not used, it can go back. So it brings efficiency as well as serves the purpose for which it can be used. There are multiple opportunities that can be explored. So we are just, I would say, at takeoff stage. So fintechs and users and everyone else, just fasten your seatbelt and see the exciting ride ahead.
That's a very, very clear message to the fintech ecosystem that there's a lot of scope to actually innovate on CBDC, and the fact that it's actually complementary to UPI. So to make it easier on Akhil and Ajay, I'm not going to ask UPI versus CBDC. Different question. UPI is at a breakneck speed of innovation. We are all trying to keep up. Fintechs, banks. Now CBDC is coming. Very, very quickly, your thoughts on how you're going to be able to manage expectations that the central bank has, NPCI has, everybody has, India has from a digital transformation. Quick 30 seconds and 30 seconds to you, Ajay.
No, I think, just tailing into my earlier comments on the why part, the clarity around why. Second is, when you have features like anonymity kick in very well. And third, combine this with the innovation in terms of use cases. You have to bring out new use cases, right? I think, something which has been innovated so well is zero cost, is frictionless. You will not want to go head on against that. The only way, in my opinion, is to ride on the coattails of it, and that has already been demonstrated by the QR adoption of UPI, the interoperability there. B, collaborate. And I think that is where, we have this option of bringing in, for example, the DBT transfers, right? And I talked about programmability. Now, imagine, you can have all sorts of programmability baked in, and this is end-use earmarking, geographical ring fencing, right? All sorts of things. That is not something which is possible, because a token, a CBDC is a sovereign entity, right? It has a life of its own. And you can bake in anything on it.
You can change the program on the token on the fly.
Exactly. Well, you can, but you may not want to do it. It depends, right? I mean, it all depends on how far you want to push it. But it is so exciting, and that is not something that you can do with cash, which is dumb, or a bank deposit transfer. So I think that is what really opens it up, and I think it will be very exciting complementary phase that we are entering into. It's a new dawn.
Thank you. Ajay?
Yeah, so I'll not repeat a lot of what has already been said. So I think retail use cases, we all already spoke about. I think, what CBDC can also do in addition to what already exists is, create value on the B2B side as well. So P2P, I think we all spoke about cross-border, offline, programmability, wallet transfers, wallet creation, and DBT transfers, all of that we already spoke about, right? But if you look at the intrinsic value of CBDC is the whole concept feature of instant settlement. And if the merchant today is already getting money via CBDC and the money is in their wallet, what stops us from creating B2B use cases where instant settlement can be a feature? So look at a corporate who is on a cash and carry model. For them, the money receiving is only one part of it. The information receiving and the settlement of, that information, credit of that information into their ERP to create a go, no go is equally important, right? So the reconciliation is also important. So CBDC with its instant settlement feature can actually create that reconciliation as a service and, give a B2B use case around it. The second, in my view, very important part would be the tokenization of assets. So wherever asset tokenization or smart contracts, are created, stocks, bonds, government securities, all of that, right? So it can be actually settled via CBDC. So the entire settlement process can be made instant, frictionless, scalable via, usage of CBDC. So supply chain financing, for example, right? So all of these, in my view, aside all the P2P that we spoke about, I think there is enough value which can be created on
That's
the
That's a great example of where you can do focused innovation as a fintech ecosystem by choosing use cases versus not necessarily being all broad-based.
So rely on the feature of the product and then, create use cases like Rahul, I think I don't need to say, right? PhonePe created UPI where it is today, right? So I think that focus is probably what is required.
I think verticalizing is an opportunity versus being horizontal like PhonePe also.
Absolutely right.
Thank you, Ajay. Deepak, I'm going to let you summarize the panel, not me, with a global perspective on how is India, our Reserve Bank, Central Bank thinking about CBDC and what you've seen worldwide. And please, these would be closing remarks. And Deepak, please do the honors.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I've already spoken about where India is and where it can leap to in next 2 years, right? But I'll give you a perspective of where the world and other reserve banks are doing. The first one which comes to mind is Sweden, with their project called e-Krona. E-Krona. Where did Corona come? I don't know. E-Krona. Sweden being one of the highly developed economy, what's happening there is in the rural areas, traditional banks and branches are closing down. And the introduction of CBDC has helped do the financial inclusion and get to the last mile there. And with ease, right? And that's a power which we can't think of if it was anything else. Second, if we just think of going to Bahamas and think of sand dollars, and that's where sand dollars was introduced, and we were seeing that it was one of the digital lighthouse projects for CBDC, where it was introduced and it was used in everyday micropayments, right? And like UPI, but digital currency token being used. Another aspect, and we are talking about dollars and how can we be less dependent on dollar, right? And this is where a small country like a Marshall Island, where CBDC is introduced to reduce the dependency on a dollar and have financial stability because of it. Moving forward, like one of the examples which Ajay spoke about, the RBA, which is Reserve Bank of Australia, are using CBDC as a tokenized asset. And they are doing experiment in which we are helping them is with the mortgage of land and then using CBDC to settle it on the fly. And the last thing is Euro. If you take the Eurozone, and there are multiple countries doing Forex and cross-border payment, though you have Euro as a currency to unite them, bringing CBDC has helped them, and then the experiment which they are doing is to help them do this at a zero cost and then have those zero balance, right? So CBDC is the future, as a closing remark, but we have set our stage way high for us to leap forward than what the others are doing. So with that, I'll let you know. I know someone is whispering into your ears. With that, that's where we are.
Thank you so much, Deepak. We could keep going on, but it's been an amazing conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, a big applause for this amazing, amazing panel. Thank you so much, everybody.
Just for the information of all, Reserve Bank has put up an innovation pavilion right here on the ground floor, and we have a section devoted to the CBDCs. If you are interested, please come over there and experience it yourself. Thank you.
All right, a big round of applause for these set of riveting panel members. Thank you, Mr. Chari, for navigating this piece of conversation so well. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be demystifying, delineating and deliberating upon the topic of transforming India's international financial services landscape through fintech innovation and responsible global cooperation. I'll be shortly introducing the luminary who will be coming on stage and setting the context and inviting our keynote speaker. But before we do that, an event of this magnitude with 800 plus speakers, 50,000 plus delegates, really comes to realization with support of a lot of partners. So we'd like to acknowledge our co-powered by partner Google Pay, Amazon Pay, brought to you by partner HDFC Bank, State Bank of India. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call on stage Shri G Padmanabhan, former Executive Director, Reserve Bank of India, to come on stage and set the context for our next keynote speaker, who is himself a luminary from the world of finance. So can we give a huge round of applause for Shri G Padmanabhan, former Executive Director, Reserve Bank of India.